Politics, here just for you. And I'm Attorney Roy Miller.
I'm Linda.
And I'm Stacy Jenkins.
And we're here to bring you all the news, the hot news.
Yes.
Well, you know what I always say, if it's hot, this is where you can visit us.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And make sure that you email us your comments and questions at pillowpolitics@gmail.com or like and subscribe us at YouTube and Facebook.
All right.
That's right. What is that you always say, Stacy? Grab a pillow, get comfortable, and
That's right. This is the last issues we're going to talk about before you hit the bed.
sounds good.
Eat, get you a good your stomach full and lay down then. I know your parents told you not to do that, but do that.
And you will get indigestion.
Right.
You don't want that.
No.
You don't
Well, we're going to get right to the point. We're going to jump right into it. Our discussion tonight is looking into the minds of the great Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall and the great Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas.
Clarence Thomas? Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to look at it. We want to look at it more than just, don't like, but really get to try to look into their heads. I feel that both had a way of thinking and feeling that they were making a difference in the world, especially the impact that they had on Black America.
Especially in the younger years.
Yeah, and we're going to see, even as we speak, we're going to see, and you viewers are going to, probably most of you will hear some things that you have not heard before.
Okay.
I want to start off speaking a little bit on Thurgood Marshall. He was born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1908. He died in 1993. His parents were mulatto, meaning they were half white, half black, but they lived as proud blacks. Now, his first wife, Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall's first wife, Berry Marshall, died of lung cancer in 1955. She died on her 44th birthday. They didn't have any children. She had several miscarriages. His second wife, Cecilia Suyat, which he married the same year that his first wife died, she was a secretary for the NAACP.
Now his first wife, was she black or white?
Oh, she was black.
Okay.
And his second wife, of Filipino descent, married the same year his first wife died, and they had 2 sons.
Okay.
Now, Thurgood Marshall was, before being Supreme Court Justice, was a civil rights lawyer. Best known for the case, he won the case, Brown versus the Board of Education. Now, the Brown versus Board of Education, a landmark decision of the U.S. Supreme Court in which the court ruled that U.S. state laws establishing racial segregation in public schools are unconstitutional, even if the segregated schools are otherwise equal in quality.
Okay.
That separate but equal just didn't work. And I still remember getting those used books.
Yeah. Oh,
In
yeah.
the classroom.
In class, yeah. And I went to first, second, third, all black was in my all black school, and you could see the names of students from other sides of town in your book.
That's right.
Yeah, and that was just a norm. Now, he strived to protect the rights of all citizens. His nickname was Mr. Civil Rights. Now, this is incredible, amazing.
Okay.
As an attorney, Thurgood Marshall argued a record-breaking 32 cases before the Supreme Court, and he won 29 of them.
That's impressive.
amazing.
That's impressive for a black attorney during that time.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so Marshall's mission was equal justice for all. Marshall used the power of the courts to fight racism and discrimination, tear down Jim Crow segregation, and when I say Jim Crow, that means laws that were made just to discriminate. Change the status quo. When I say that, I mean people that wanted to leave things the same because it benefited them and make life better for the most vulnerable in our nation. So Thurgood Marshall, what do y'all have anything to say about him?
Yeah, I mean, Thurgood Marshall, to me, when I ever think of him, I always think about the study that he and another lawmaker created, and that was the baby doll test. It was a technical term for the study, but they had black and white children to decide which baby doll they preferred more. Did they like the dark baby, black baby, or did they like the white baby? And majority of the children selected the white baby, the white children and the black children. And as we discussed earlier, that helped to change the pushing of the Brown versus the Board of Education law into place to where we can have equal rights within our public school system. So when I ever think of Thurgood Marshall, that's what I think of.
When I think about him, I think in terms of what a challenge it had to be during that time to try to fight for the rights of blacks.
Yeah.
Inside of the system that was so put together by whites, for whites. It had to be a struggle.
Yeah, but he was an amazing guy, and to think that he went before an all-white Supreme Court and won 29 out of 32 cases, that's just unbelievable to me.
Beat them with their law.
Yeah, I mean that is just amazing.
Yeah.
As an attorney.
I was going to ask, so meaning that you had to have a that trial, you don't know when that trial is going to end when you are going to the Supreme Court. And that's also based off of so many appeals, correct? That gets you there?
Yeah, you argue before the Supreme Court, and usually it's because some error was made by a lower court. Maybe some facts were not allowed that should have been, or some new evidence. But for whatever the reason, whatever his arguments were, he prevailed. And that's pretty amazing, because you got to think during those days especially, you had a lot of large law firms that defended racism, and they had a lot of practice at it, but they couldn't beat him.
Wow.
So he was an amazing guy. He believed in justice for all and everybody sharing. Now,
can I mention one more thing?
Yeah.
Sure. And also too, with that, and even in a time that Thurgood Marshall really was at the height of his success, I never read in the history book where he ever compromised who he was as a black man.
That's right. You're absolutely right about that.
He was good. I'm a really decent guy. Everything I know about him, he was married to 2 ladies, never heard of any scandals.
Yeah.
And he seemed like a good husband, and
just a good
role model, a good person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hey, I can't say anything but good things about Thurgood Marshall. And he and we're going to talk about Clarence Thomas seem to have 2 different ways of seeing how to help black people. Thurgood Marshall was more compassionate in that we all need to share in the opportunities. Clarence Thomas, you'll see, he was almost like that tough love. Like, I don't want you to give me nothing, open up the door, I'll get it myself. You remember James Brown made that. And, I've heard, common like Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington also believed in the same thing I believe in, an even playing field, give us an even playing field. But Clarence Thomas went a little beyond that, and basically, in my opinion, saying that I don't want you to give me nothing, and that sound probably really good to a lot of racists, because they were like, you're the man, because we don't want to give you nothing.
Right.
So we want, but it's more to Clarence Thomas, and he's actually done a lot of good things.
He has.
For Black America, and I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
I just want.
I know. That's
enlighten
us.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna read through a few things. Then I'm gonna ask for you.
Yeah. Okay.
To just let go on whatever it is. Clarence Thomas, and I'm looking at Britannica in this part. He was born in June the 23rd, 1948 in Penn Point, Georgia, near Savannah. That was a slave farm town. His father left his mother and he and his older sister when he was only 2 years old, according to Ballotpedia. A single mother struggled to make ends meet. After a house fire, they were homeless, and Clarence was raised by his maternal grandfather, which he loved. He loved his grandfather. His grandfather being a dark-colored guy, but he loved his grandfather. And he often talked about how he felt his grandfather was treated wrongly because of the shade of his skin. Now,
You mean treated wrongly by his own race, by blacks?
right, and not only that is, but dealt with even white America open doors more. It appeared
Faced
to
a lot of colorism.
like
Yeah,
that.
that did take place in those days.
Now he actually attended. He was a seminary student, and he wanted to be. He was Catholic, wanted to be a priest, until Dr. King was assassinated, and that just changed things for him. When he was in school, his classmates, and I'm doing grade school and high school, he was given the nickname ABC, meaning America's Blackest Child.
Oh, wow.
And schoolyard classmate jeered and said that if he was any darker, he would be blue.
Wow.
He attended Holy Cross College and graduated in 1971 with a BA in English. He was a graduate of Yale Law School and one of the first students to benefit from open admissions programs that offered positions to black students in all white colleges. Now, when he was at Holy Cross in undergrad, he was really big on Malcolm X.
Okay.
He remembered a lot of Malcolm X
See,
speeches.
that's one thing I didn't know.
And although it was almost all white at Holy Cross,
Right.
he would have a poster of Malcolm X on his dorm room door. So you know he made a lot of people angry.
So he was very pro-black back then.
Right. Now, he started to really be against affirmative action when he realized himself that for his accomplishments, some of his white peers wanted to say that he only got it because of his color.
So that's what made him change his direction.
Right. All of this contributed to it. So less than 1 year as being a judge, he was nominated to the Supreme Court. In the Atlantic, it read that he said, "There is nothing you can do to get past black skin. I don't care how educated you are, how good you are at what you do. You'll never have the same contacts or opportunities. You'll never be equal to whites." Now, in the New Yorker, he stated, "The only hope for black people lies within themselves, not as individuals, but as a separate community with separate institutions apart from white people." And that kind of goes to show why he supported HBCUs. He's a big supporter of HBCUs funding.
Okay.
And it seems like he had that idea of that tough love. And if you ever known a child of a principal or a minister, they claim that they were harder on them. Or a teacher that had their child in their class,
Right.
that child would say, you know, the teacher's harder on them than other students. And I've seen that happen. But it seemed that he had, or he has this way of thinking that I don't need your help, but the other side use that against him and say, good, I don't want to help. One more thing I wanted to add is Holy Cross, located in Worcester, near Boston, 2% black population.
Wow.
Is that where he lives now?
No, that's where he graduated from
Oh,
undergrad.
okay. Oh,
You know, another thing I want to add too is
Okay.
while he was at there, he in college, Holy Cross, they started a Black Student Union, and of course he had a Malcolm X poster on his door, demanded more black faculty, professors, and students. That's what they demanded. And their, I guess, their rules and guides, they said black men are not to date white women. He said that in the New Yorker. I don't see how the civil rights people of today can claim Malcolm X is one of their own. he said, where does he say black people should go begging the Labor Department for jobs? He was held on integrationists. Where does he say you should sacrifice your institutions to be next to white people? And I guess that goes back with his support for HBCUs.
Mm-hmm.
His son, a really decent guy, an actor, see him on Grey Anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I had in my notes, he felt the black man does not want or need the white woman. Isn't that interesting?
That is
The black man's history shows that the white woman is the cause of his failure to be the true black man. Now, those were things that.
Wow, that's contradictory.
Okay, do you mind repeating that statement?
That's really
He
contradictory.
felt the black man does not want or need the white woman. The black man's history shows that the white woman is the cause of his failure to be the true black man.
Wow.
But you know, he's a very interesting guy.
So,
But he's brilliant. Let me say this, in my opinion,
Okay.
he's brilliant. People say Miles Davis was very strange, but he was brilliant. Because people have different beliefs or ways that I don't particularly like, I wouldn't agree with.
mhm.
I still can't take away that brilliance because he still accomplished a lot.
Where do you think, at what point, his wife, he's been married to the same woman, the second wife,
Yeah.
and she's white
Mhm.
for many
Well,
years.
over 20
So
some years, yeah.
At what point? At what point? Because he's been in the Supreme Court for 30 years.
Mhm.
So therefore, his marriage is, he was married to her when.
Right.
I guess what I'm asking is that what turned him around? At what point? Because it just doesn't go with what he feels about the importance of a white woman in his life. It just doesn't go with that statement that you read, which is why I asked you to read it again.
Yeah. Did you find out when did they meet each? Well, and that's a great question. And after you answer that question, I have another question too.
You know, I took notes, but
Mhm.
I don't want to say dates that I'm not exact
Mhm.
on.
Right.
But we know that it happened before 1991,
Okay.
before he got on the Supreme Court when Thurgood Marshall actually resigned because of health problems.
That's
But people change, and life situations can make people change, but in an odd way, I really feel, my feeling is that he and Thurgood Marshall really felt that they knew what black America needed. And I say that because he kept his promise to HBCUs and of this belief of separatism, that whether I agree with him or not, I can respect that. I feel he had a strategy. I'm more of I can appreciate Thurgood Marshall's strategy, because it's one thing to say, I don't want this, we'll get it. But everybody else coming from all over the world is getting.
But see, my thing is this: Thurgood Marshall, yes, he made a lot of strides, not only for Black America, but even helping to pass Brown versus Board of Education.
Yeah.
He helped America, because not only did Black children benefit from that ruling, but so did other children, Hispanic children, Asian American children that are in this country, Native children, to get equal educational rights. As with other opinions he wrote and judgments that he made along the way. However, Clarence Thomas, we already know that he started off on a rocky road, because his appointment and appointment to that bench was contingent on him not being found guilty of sexually harassing his former employee, Anita Hill. That is what has tainted. He started off with, especially Black America, off on the wrong foot before he was ever even sworn into that role that he's in now as a justice.
And you know what's so interesting too is that I'm going back to the fact that he's married to a white woman, which means that you can't help who you love.
Absolutely not.
But then,
Yeah.
on the other hand, he doesn't believe in gay marriages, same-sex marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that saying?
And that was another thing that they had brought up. They said that, okay, well, you are now making, he made an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that actually.
Mm-hmm.
They said that Thomas has a colorblind constitution in his way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't want anyone to exclude interracial marriage. So he wants pro-rights to be taken out of the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
He wants contraceptives to also be reviewed again in our Constitution. He wants privacy laws to be reviewed and same-sex marriage. But when it comes to interracial marriages, no, that's an area he doesn't even want to talk about. He confuses me.
Well,
He does.
he's a person who seemed to have different personalities during different parts of life. But one thing that I think that, and considering he and Thurgood Marshall, to me, the Brown versus Board of Education ruling brought it closer to saying, we the people who we the people are. Because before then, it's like, we're not the people, you know, we the people, everybody but us and Native Americans. But he brought it closer to saying, even with us, Native Americans, blacks, we the people.
Right.
To me, Clarence Thomas' way is like, we're separate. We the people only apply to, Europeans, not ancestors of blacks and not Native Americans. So,
Wonder where do he place himself in that mix?
you know, there are those who, you hear sometimes people saying, let's go back to the original Constitution, which was
Right.
the Bill of Rights, which basically said if you follow number 1 through 9, number 10 basically said you can do the state can do what the hell what they want.
Right.
And some people say, well, if it wasn't there, then legally we should be able to do anything that's not forbidden in the Bill of Rights. Now, to go back even further, there are those that would go back to what gave the Bill of Rights, gave us our existence, right to exist, the Paris Treaty, which basically labeled slaves as property.
Property, right.
So property could never be people according to some
Right.
people way
Right.
of thinking, which then comes back to when they say we the people, who did we the people refer to? So I connected back to Thurgood Marshall for making it clear through Brown versus Board of Education that we the people included
Us.
all of us.
All of us. Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so I believe that, you know, we gotta learn to live together. God didn't give us the option of divorce. Raise us, we must learn to love each other.
Yeah.
You know, and
But until you educated me just now about Clarence, Justice Thomas, his stance with HBCUs and his take on not being for affirmative action, I don't know who Clarence Thomas is. I don't know who Clarence Thomas is until Ginny Thomas.
You're right.
He has no, I don't know what his legacy is.
And I know it's not right, but I seem to define him by his wife
Absolutely.
and what she stands for.
Right. I hear her politics.
It-
But I don't
it's
hear his
strange.
politics.
It's almost like
Right.
based on what he fought for
Yeah.
during the first half of his life.
What did he fight for?
Well, you know, he was Black Student Union organized.
But I mean, as a justice.
Okay, now see, that's the reason I go to the first
That's what I'm
half
talking
of his
about.
life. It seemed like he really was Black Power,
Right.
a follower of Malcolm X, and supported Angela Davis and brought different people to the campus and fought for Black faculty and stuff. But something just seemed like it does not match, because whether or not his wife now know it or not, she's perceived by many as being racist. And not only just racist, but more racist than most racist.
Yeah, and it's like what I when I look back now, and I also got to see the movie. We were talking about that earlier. I got to see the movie that with Anita Hill and her take on what happened. And that actress is I can't remember her name at the moment. But
She was excellent.
She was really good, and it showed the beginnings of that trial, the hearings, in which President Biden, who was a senator at that time, was one of the lead heads on that committee when Justice Thomas was being tried for his sexual assault against Anita Hill. But I feel as if Clarence Thomas was just a prop. He was a political prop. He was someone that his wife, with her influence and her political influence, because she does have a lot of political influence. She comes from a heavyweight family in D.C. And being under, he was the director of the EEOC at one time. And his connection with George W. Bush, or first George Bush.
Right. Who nominated him.
Who nominated him.
To the Supreme Court.
I really think that he was put in, like most of these conservative justices are put in place just for political movement later on.
You know, Bruce Green, a professor specializing in legal ethics, he stated that the appearance created by Clarence's wife, that he said it reminds him like a mom and pop political hatch group. You know, where she does the political stuff and he does the judging.
Right.
It is a strange marriage.
It really is.
Marriage.
It is a strange marriage.
It really looks like it was a business agreement.
You know, it's beginning to look more and more like that.
I wonder what, the opportunity came through George Bush, the senior, before Thomas even had a year of experience as a judge. And here he is nominated for the Supreme Court.
So
it was, and I believe that it was his stance that we don't want you to give us nothing.
And I agree with that.
And I think Bush would probably think, well, that's great. We don't want to have to give you nothing.
Right.
And so you're the man.
And so
You're
with
the
his
man.
wife pushing,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
Now I'm gonna ask you this. I'm gonna ask you, who do you, Thurgood Marshall, Clarence Thomas, where do you think they would have stood on reparations?
Linda,
For
I
or
want to let
against?
you go to first.
I do think that Justice Marshall, I do think that he would have supported that. I don't think that Clarence Thomas,
You don't think so?
based on how he is now, in all honesty, I feel that his wife is putting him in a position that he's beginning to look more like a threat to the justice system, to the Supreme Court.
He's definitely helping to create distrust with Americans in our justice system. That's for sure.
He is, and they're not bound by the same their code of conduct. They're not bound by the same as the federal courts are they?
Why?
Wait, when you say, the federal court, what do you mean? Because that's federal.
The federal
Yeah.
system. The federal system requires a judge to excuse himself from any hearing in a case that appears to be a personal entanglement in that. But the
Sort of like a
Supreme Court.
president.
I mean, that applies to even
This is
the High Court.
The High
Supreme
Court as
Court.
well. But then let me say this. To me, it appears like the federal courts are enforcing it much more, or being a better example of that much more than the Supreme Court, which is,
Okay.
I'm just saying that with the way things are taking place and the way things are looking, he is allowing his wife, who is affiliated with various groups and things like this, and you can't tell me that they're married that she doesn't have his ear, so to speak.
And that's been the complaint.
But you look at the Supreme Court at the highest court. So what court do you go to complain? That's the highest court.
Well, see,
Right.
they should enforce their code of ethics much more than what they're doing because I think that she's really making a negative impact.
And that's
it's
the
taking
arg-
away.
Yeah,
you mentioned
for
something.
January 6th. That's
Right.
the problem.
Absolutely,
Is that
she was involved in that.
they feel as if when the January 6th hearings committee was being formed and they had asked the opinion of the Supreme Court, of the Justice Court, what their opinions were in regards to the event that had occurred on January 6th. Now, almost all of the justices had some statement to make, but then Clarence Thomas is the only one who didn't
say
recuse
anything,
himself,
right.
right?
Right, and you can recuse, but he didn't recuse himself from everything.
But you know, the appearance of justice is just as important as the fact of justice itself.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Justice don't have to just be justice, but it must look like justice.
That's right.
Right.
That's
Also,
right.
it is, now whether or not his wife can cause him to be biased in his decision making on a high court. Now we know
That's
that
the
even
key
a
word,
referee at a
bias.
football game, you don't want
Right.
anything happening that would make him look as though he's not being fair.
Right.
In any sporting event. I mean, you should not be a coach or a judge if you cannot be fair and to everybody.
Right.
As
That's
a
right.
Supreme Court justice, you have to make it clear that you are making a legal argument, but there's no bias. But his wife so closely associated with groups that are biased,
Very much
very
so.
biased,
Yeah.
puts a bad light on him. And see, we have enough people in America to have good people to serve in positions
Yeah.
that don't have dark clouds.
You know, according to the NewYorker.com, that she is affiliated with quite a few groups
Oh yeah.
that is against abortion, affirmative rights, gun control, same-sex marriage.
But let me say
And these are
this.
things that the Supreme Court just as on the
Now, whether or not what his wife does could affect him, we probably took a vote with most people. They'll say that what she does, she has some influence on him. Most people would probably.
But especially the January 6th, outside of the Roe versus Wade,
Right.
January 6th is the really hot button because she was the one who helped to conspire
she sure
with
did.
those groups.
She had to have known what that would do to his
Right, and
career.
they had communicated
They had
with each other
communicated.
about certain events that were going to occur.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the committee was being created and they started asking these questions to the justice, and his wife was connected to what
Mm-hmm.
had happened, and then he recused himself. That is the part that puts him on the
Well,
That's
let
right.
me
You know,
say
that's
this.
right.
Let me say this.
where he should just resign.
Well, I would say this. In my opinion, and I know you're going to jump on me.
No.
I feel that he's a brilliant guy. I wish that he would come back to where he was 40 years ago.
Well, okay,
That's not gonna happen.
You know,
Because he was about,
is.
it seemed like he was about justice then, and he recognized the problems that we had in America and those that suffer the most. And so, but I understand, it's like I say with a coach, when a referee can't call the game fair, at some point he needs to resign.
see, I'm not saying he's not a brilliant guy, because for him to get to where he is, he's smart. Because
Absolutely.
we know growing up in school, in the classroom, we were told that if they make a B, you make an A.
Yeah.
If they make an A,
Twice
you make
as
an A
hard.
plus.
Yeah.
So you had to be more than produce and put out more than. So for
Well,
him to
twice
get
as
to where,
smart, be twice as smart, and
yes.
yeah, work,
So
you
we know that he's a very smart guy. I just don't like the way the choices that
Yeah.
he's made, how he's handling things right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that, and I try to look at it as though, from an attorney position, looking at what Thurgood is thinking and what he is thinking. I think both of them think that they have a cure for what hurts, and one believe in tough love, one believe in compassion. But I do believe that, you know, when you run with biting dogs, people are going to assume that you're a biting dog. When you run with people who are racist, people are going to assume that you share
Those same values.
their same values.
I
You
don't
know,
think.
so.
I don't feel what he's doing is tough love. I don't feel. I think it feels like he's. It feels to me like he's trying to take us back a couple of steps.
And I was going to say this too about him. You asked a question earlier. What do you think? What our opinion would be if Clarence Thomas and Justice Marshall was still alive, and the subject of reparations was on the table? Who would go with what? I do believe that Thurgood Marshall, he was really, to me, with Brown versus Board of Education, that was the beginning of reparations. Really.
It was. It opened the door.
It did. It opened up the door to show that there was inequality in education, and that our children had to be given the same,
right.
you know.
That's right.
But I think that Clarence Thomas would be the type of person that would have gained, because even though he says that he's not for affirmative action, and of course we know the Conservative Party is really not for affirmative action, but he was enrolled into college. He was accepted into college based off of affirmative action. He has that mentality of, well, pull your bootstraps up, right? But somebody gave you straps.
That's right.
To pull up. But see, now that you've got your straps and you've tied your shoes up and you're all good to go, now you want to take the straps that's left in the box that you were supposed to be giving to people behind you. You want to close that box up. You want to kick the ladder, the same ladder you went up. You want to kick that ladder out of the way for other people to climb up. And that's the type of person he is. And I just do not like that. That's his legacy.
You know, every opportunity is not one that you should take. I don't care if it's Supreme Court justice. If you're expected to play a role that you don't like, if you're expected to value or to change your morals and who you are, then no matter what the offer is, I've been offered a whole lot of stuff. I've been contacted by presidents, and I have not accepted some things. And because your morals and who you are, you know, at the end of a lifetime, you would like to look at your legacy and say, where's the victory in what I did, the purpose that I stood, because you're gone. The only thing going to be left is your legacy.
Absolutely. What is his legacy?
You know,
if he were to die today, God forbid, we of course want him to have a long life, but if he were to go home today, what would be Justice Thomas' legacy?
You know, because of his wife, and because that he's supporting some of the things that his wife is doing, in December, Chief John Roberts released this year's report. According to a recent Gallup poll, the Supreme Court has its lowest public approval rating in history.
I can see that. Look who's on there.
Not in 10 years, but in history.
Look who's on there. You got Kavanaugh, who's a alleged rapist. Then you've got the new Justice Supreme Court on there. Justice on there. I forget her name. She has like the 9 children.
Right.
She was appointed on there by Trump, and she was appointed on there for the purpose of voting against Roe versus Wade.
Right.
Then you've got Clarence Thomas on there, who has no opinion. He has no legacy. He just goes along with whatever, like you said, not the will of the people.
That's right.
Not what's good for the country, but what bids his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see it. That's in it. Can you imagine? The only saving grace that the Supreme Court panel has right now is Ketanji Brown.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And you know, the Supreme Court has always not been a great Supreme Court because of Jim Crow laws.
Right.
Yeah.
Jim Crow law was created to justify everything from slavery to segregation to separate but equal. So when you look at that, all of those were wrong. It was just wrong.
Yeah.
Now we look now. It's almost like picking favorites, where you're picking people to be biased. A judge should be just like a referee, somebody
right.
you can trust
That's right.
to not take sides, but do the legal thing and do the right thing, not the political thing.
And that's exactly why the people are so distrustful.
Yes.
I mean, like you said, that is the highest court.
Yeah. I mean,
And then if you don't distrust that, then what is that saying about the United States? What is it saying about our system?
And even I was even, and the only reason why I say Ketanji Brown might be our saving grace for the justice panel is because even with Justice Sotomayor, I have a lot of respect for her, especially her being the first Latina woman elected into that position. But it's like she even leans towards Thomas.
Yeah, that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, she leans towards Thomas, and it's because they have a friendship, and that to me is not a good. I don't want to hear that as an American. I don't want to hear because you and him have a great relationship, and you and his wife have a great relationship. That might sway your opinions and your judgments. That's not working good for me.
That's
you,
right.
you know, Lady Justice is supposed to be blind,
Yes.
meaning that she doesn't see Democrats and Republicans
Right.
or anything like that, but only justice. And we don't have that. We have presidents coming wanting to put someone on the Supreme Court that will always vote their way.
Vote their way.
And
That's right.
so there's a problem there because out of all of America, it seems like we could get enough people to not be biased based on politics
Yeah.
and do the right thing based on their education
Right.
and what they've learned and their wisdom
And the facts.
not take
And the
sides,
facts.
but not
Right.
doing it to take sides. As far as Justice Thomas is concerned,
Yeah.
I think that if he has a winning strategy, he's got to show it fast to Black America and to America, but especially Black America, who feels like he's worked hardest for the other team.
And he has.
You know, he's been against
His record shows that.
money coming
Yeah.
to the Black communities. You see, and but he may see it differently, and I still have great respect for him. I would love for him to give some logic, you know,
Absolutely.
to share his logic.
Because right now, like you said, even though he is an American Supreme Court justice, so he represents America, but it is a Black community that is going to remember his legacy the most.
Oh yeah.
And right now, even people like Samuel L. Jackson, Whoopi Goldberg, what is that representative? The representative that's heading the January 6th panel right now from Mississippi. They all have very negative things to say about him right
They
now.
do.
And that's not a good thing, you
No,
know?
it's not.
Well, his approval rating in Black America will probably be so low, too low, probably less than 10%.
You know who it reminds me of? I hate to say this, but what was his name? He passed COVID-19. He was a Republican, Black conservative.
The guy that went to the rally.
Yes, the Oklahoma rally.
999.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I forget.
Herman Cain.
Herman Cain.
Yeah.
Herman Cain.
Herman
You know-
Cain had so much possibilities.
He
He
did.
could have left a legacy, but
He was
just-
brilliant.
He was brilliant, yeah.
When I first
Morehouse
met him,
graduate.
I
He was a brilliant guy.
I was very impressed with him.
Yeah.
I was impressed with his platform and everything.
Right. Wanting to run for president. That's amazing.
he had a nice platform at that time. But as time went on, the real Herman Cain came out.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the brilliance in a person is lost, just like dust can cover up something beautiful,
Yeah.
portrait. And you be hoping that one day something happens where that dust is removed and you see the beauty again. I wish that could happen even with the Clarence Thomases, but I do know that the Thurgood Marshall, to me, he's a masterpiece.
He
That
is.
has stood the test.
Absolutely.
And he's
can I
well
ask
loved
you
for a
this
good
question?
reason.
Can I ask you, do you think it's dust with the Herman Cains and the Clarence Thomases, or do you think they got comfortable?
That is a good question. It appears that you know, it's like the example you send your child out with a nice outfit on, but he goes into the world and he starts putting on another layer and another layer. Till you can't even see the outfit that you put him on when he left that morning, and you say, "What happened to my child?" And the world will offer and tempt you to put on different outfits because they have their own agenda. For their own, they have a reason for doing that, and sometimes people cannot resist things, and that's the reason I tell young politicians that are thinking about running for office or just winning office, don't take anything because nothing comes free.
That's so true.
Don't
That's
take anything from nobody.
Yeah.
Nothing comes free. You are there to serve the public, and you get paid.
Right.
Don't fall into that, because once people get you to do something that's illegal, they have you for not only for the rest of your term in office, but they may tell you you got to run for re-election and be a puppet, because we can send you to prison or we can ruin your reputation, your legacy forever. And there's a lot of people in politics that take stuff
Yeah.
It is.
and engage in illegal stuff.
And it
right.
comes to light in the end. Yeah.
No doubt about it. And I don't believe in that.
Right.
I believe in a person being honest, and and especially not taking from the poor, the children,
Oh, yeah.
the sick, and the elderly.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't like that at all. I don't care about that playing politics.
Right.
Where you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Right.
We gotta do better, and especially at the court level, judges have gotta be there to be like that fair referee. They gotta be fair across the board. And so many times judges don't do that.
Yeah.
I've seen judges on any given day give a decision totally different from a previous decision with the same
Right.
circumstances. And so that's got to stop. When you think of
Why do you think that is so? Just curious.
so many people do what they think friends like or their community like, something that's going to get them reelected, because judges have to run.
Yeah.
Except for federal judges,
Right.
state judges, Superior Court judges, they have to run for reelection. So, certain communities, they want to handle with kids' glove, and they want to do things to ensure that they're going to be reelected. When a person stands up and do the right thing, they risk not being reelected, but you got to do that.
Right.
You got to stand up and do the right thing. It's easier to go along, to get along, but you got to stand up when it's right.
Yeah.
When you look at the disproportionate penalty for the crack and cocaine thing, about if you have the same amount of cocaine as with crack, usually cocaine was associated with a white person's drug, and crack more with a black person's drug.
Right.
Blacks would get 3 and 4 times as jail sentence.
Right. Exactly.
Judges did that. Judges know that they gave one person, just based on color, on race,
Right.
25% of the sentence that they gave to the next person with the same amount that was black.
Right.
And so judges, I don't know, maybe they're just trying to get along and satisfy their constituency because they wanted to get reelected.
Yeah.
But they've got to be bold.
Yeah.
They got to be bolder than pursuing a higher
Right.
position.
But
And
you
not
know-
biased, like you said earlier.
At some point, the truth does come out when people start to looking into things and comparing things, and like you said,
Mm-hmm.
their legacy. I
Their
mean, when
legacy.
they have left this earth, and their grandchildren
Absolutely.
are looking at the things that they have accomplished or have not accomplished,
Yeah.
or why they did things a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
you can't go back and exchange and you know, change it. It's there.
Because right now, the nicknames that I've heard Clarence Thomas being referred to are terms like Uncle Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Sellout.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that says a lot about your character and how the public sees you, and like you said, the legacy that you have
Mhm.
established.
I think that's the most important thing
Mhm.
of all, what you leave behind.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that your kids, you know, like in Donald Trump's case,
Mm.
his grandkids,
Oh, that's some legacy he's leaving.
he's going to be written up in the history book. There
Yeah.
are going to be programs, you know, on TV about him.
And what you put out into the world, just like on American Idol, you chose the song you wanted to sing.
That's right.
So if you get cheered or booed, you chose it.
You chose
And the
it.
same thing even for Clarence Thomas and like you were saying, Donald Trump.
Mhm.
They got to know they chose
Yeah.
what they were
That's
going
right.
to sing when they went on stage.
That's right.
So you can get angry with people for not clapping, but you chose the song.
Right.
right.
And many times it's predictable what the response is going to be.
That's right.
You know, a person that tells jokes can almost predict, and people can tell him don't tell that joke,
Right.
but he tells it anyway.
You
And
take
yes,
that
but-
risk.
And yeah, right. And then
Yeah.
you know, he get booed off stage or barred from coming back
Yeah.
again. You
Yeah.
know, he chose.
That's right.
So people in leadership positions have to be accountable.
They
Now,
must.
can I bring up this question too?
Mhm.
With people like Clarence Thomas and Senator Timms from South Carolina,
Okay.
you have all of these black conservatives, and even though Candace Owens is not an elected official, but she has a lot of influence with,
She
like,
does.
you know, with the Republican Party, in other black conservatives as well that I hadn't named, with their proximity to having a majority in the Senate,
Mm-hmm.
why, especially these past few years,
Mm-hmm.
and then having Clarence Thomas in the Supreme Court, why have they not been able to help to push reform or push some type of political change that helps not just Black America, like they always claim that they're not a party
Mm-hmm.
just for Black America.
Mhm.
They're a party of progress, with
Right,
being Black
right.
conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't even help to pass policies to help America. Like, there's no Black Republican or Black conservative legacy either.
You know, even a football team and a coach will say, we need people where we're in the weakest position. That's why we're losing. We got enough wide receivers. We got enough guards. We need some running backs. So if you are a person wanting to make the team and you know they're already heavy, and you got enough wide receivers, why would you? And I say that to say, so many there are those like the Tim Scotts that are good with what they do, but they have the same way of thinking in a position that's overloaded.
Oh, wow. That's a
There's
great
already
way.
enough people arguing what you're arguing.
That's
And the
right.
fact is the team is still weak in a position that needed help. We need some help
That's a
in bringing
great
down the
answer.
crime, trying to encourage young people, especially Black, to have
Right.
self-esteem and pride.
That's
We
right.
need role models.
Right.
We need people to say you are somebody that they will listen to
Right.
and believe because they are convinced that you really love them.
That's right.
You know, we don't need another person. You know, like in a choir, you already got a million tenors. Why do you want to come in as a tenor when
Right.
you already overloaded
That's
with
right.
that? So we need people that can come help find a cure for what hurts. You know, and right now we need some people because crime is such a problem. But wherever you find great poverty, you find great crime.
Yeah.
And we need people to look at the communities and see the environment, how do you improve the environment for every child?
Yeah.
Where every child can walk, the streets in a
Yeah.
beautiful neighborhood.
Because there is a solution. There's always a solution for basically just about anything. But you just have to sit down and you have to look at the ways that you can come together and roll up our sleeves, put our heads together, and come up with something that is workable. Most things looks good on paper, but it doesn't work in real life.
Right.
So we have to come up with something that can help our young people. Not just our black young people, but all young people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to encourage them because they will live up to what, when a young person think you believe in them, they'll do anything for you.
Yeah, they will, because they want that pat on the back. They want you to continue to feel proud of them.
Oh yeah, when I teach as a university professor, my students, I love my students and they know I love them, and they've been backwards trying to do better, and they do better, and they feel so proud when they do better. And so we need people that can encourage, but you can't, without changing the environment and making it, when integration happened, see, before integration, being accepted was not a problem by blacks.
That's right, because we had nowhere else to go.
I mean, we lived in communities, right? We had communities, and we were all at the same level.
Right.
But during integration, it was a realization that in the same school, some students had a lot more when they went home.
Oh,
They came with new clothes, name brand this, tennis
It
shoes.
was separate but not equal.
Right,
Absolutely.
and so everybody want to be accepted.
Right.
I remember an old song by Bobby Taylor and I forget the name of the group, but it was Does Your Mama Know About Me, and it was about
Oh yeah.
Does Your Mama Know About Me, and it was about a mixed race relationship and how it would be, would they accept him, what would their father say, what would the friends, what would the neighbors say. But see, after integration, those questions start to come to a black person, that if I come visit you, what your neighbors, how's your father going to treat me? How's your mom going to treat me? Those are legitimate questions. And, so we have got to make it where young people don't have to ask those questions, because every environment is a good environment. And going to north, east, south, west part of town is equally beautiful.
Right.
What excuse is it that every part of town can't be beautiful
Absolutely.
if you're looking out for everybody?
Oh, that's a whole nother show.
It sure is.
I can't see the logic to why.
That's a whole nother show, because that's some internal repair right there.
Right.
That's some internal community repair right there. That I'm not even going to put that on another group. I'm going to put that on, if that is the community that you live in, and your community does not reflect other communities that look nice. Now, I understand you may lack certain things like parks and recreational things,
sidewalks.
but filth you can prevent.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think that
Oh
with
yeah.
beautifi-
Absolutely. Oh
the
yeah.
beautification should come obligation.
Right.
Whereas there are still penalties for those that don't keep up what is done. But I think it makes a difference. People know when you get up and you're broke, and you look outside in your community, all you can see is a dog, a stray dog knocking over a garbage can. I mean, that's depressing.
It is.
A straight
That's a whole
dog.
other show
You just
now.
wonder that even when the dogs are hungry.
Yeah, that is depressing.
But that is depressing.
Yeah.
It's a difference when you can come out and see a decent neighborhood. It make you want to walk.
You know,
it make you want to,
everybody
get
should
out.
be accountable.
Yeah.
Everybody. You should take pride in where you stay at. You know.
And
Now, can I ask you one thing about
Yeah.
getting back to Clarence Thomas?
Okay.
So now that they have opened up Pandora's box with now striking down Roe versus Wade.
And you heard what's going to be next on this
I
agenda.
heard same-sex marriage,
Right.
contraceptives, privacy laws,
Mm-hmm.
and there's one other. There's one other thing. But what I've also read in a lot of comments, because we are living in an era of MAGA, very aggressive conspiracy theorists that support Trump, and you have this separatist group.
Right.
I do hear a lot of racial rhetoric now.
Right.
since Roe versus Wade has passed, and I do see certain comments where people are now wanting to question interracial marriage.
That goes deep. Did you want to say something?
Well, I think that's going to be another issue for the justice.
See, there are some people that believe this. If it's not in the federal constitution, you don't tell us what to do.
Right, because that can be left up to the state, right?
And something, if you notice that usually if it's not within the 10 Commandments by God, the Supreme Court won't hear it.
Right.
They avoided stuff like abortion and stuff like that in the past. Usually they're very reluctant to cross the 10 Commandments because remember, our Constitution, people were Christians. We are Christian countries, and we are a Christian country, and sometimes I wonder whether or not our laws are based on being in compliance with biblical
standards.
And laws. We take taxes, but sometimes I wonder, are we collecting tithes? That you're going to be in compliance with Christian values. So now it goes to the choices that the Supreme Court tackle. Same-sex marriage, is that a Christian value?
I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? Abortion, is that a Christian value?
Yeah.
So, you know.
But it took a law for Loving versus Virginia to pass for interracial marriage to take place.
Yes, it did.
You know.
And it is in the Constitution.
Yes, it did.
So it is something that, because you know, there's a senator, I forget what state it is, but he had to recant his statement because he felt like he was in hot water. But he made a statement saying that, or basically trying to make the what do you call it? Trying to lead up to that he believes that interracial marriage should not exist. Now, you know, we don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that. No.
But he had to recant his statement, though, because it didn't sound right, and he was getting a lot of slack from it, from his colleagues and other people that's in their state, his constituents and other people in the state. Now, to me, I feel like those are going to be the next two hot topics because you still have a lot of racism here in America.
You do.
And you still have a lot of evangelical conservatives that do not like interracial marriages.
That's right.
You know, it's so sad when people, I think they can more powerful than God, and they can judge, and they better be worried about getting to heaven themselves.
That's right.
Because, and I remind, even as a minister, I remind people, say, hey, even ministers and all of us, you know, we are all defendants. We got a case. We got to go before God. If you didn't have a case against you, why are you going to be judged? You know, we got to go in and we got to try to ourselves to get in heaven.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care who you are. So if you can be thinking that you are keeping someone else out or telling someone else, you know, God is the one that gives forgiveness of going to heaven. You know, He did it to the man next to Jesus on the cross. No matter what he had done in his life. So we just cannot go around trying to destroy people.
No, we can't.
You know.
But it's not us. It's the law.
The law made by people or
Roe versus Wade was the law. We thought that was protected, but it wasn't protected.
See,
so I keep hearing it's very low right now because you know no one wants to be pinned as a racist. No one wants to become viral for being being caught on video or making a statement. So they're real quiet about it. But I do see it.
Well, let me look at this. Supposedly, when you look at the Supreme Court, they're looking at federal law and such, and you're looking at the U.S. Constitution.
Right.
If you can't connect what you're arguing to the federal law to the U.S. Constitution as a right, then supposedly only the states have to say so. It's almost like if I say, I'm gonna give you 10 rules. As long as you comply with these 10 rules, you can do whatever you want to. So you do whatever you want to, and somebody else saying that, hey, she just broke one of your 10 rules, and so you said, no, I didn't. It's up to one to then prove that one of those 10 rules, what you did was included in that, and that's where you see the arguments, the legal arguments of saying this is not in the Constitution.
So
Federal.
marriage is biblical, and whether your religious beliefs is to support same-sex marriage or not, the idea of a union, of a legal union, is biblical, and it is protected under the law, even by states. So if they can challenge same-sex marriage, I feel like they're going to go so far as to also challenge interracial marriage.
They are.
I really believe so.
Now,
Yeah,
you know,
I
from
think
just a legal
it is
opinion,
going to, I
Yeah.
feel like it's going to come to
from a
that.
legal opinion, I don't think I think they may try, but they can't touch.
They
it.
can
No.
try, right? I
Yeah.
believe it's going to come there though, and it's going to shock a lot of people.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the reason. Okay, say I'm looking at it, I'm researching, and I'm thinking about it. What I'm saying, I'm thinking to myself is that when you look at God saying that about being fruitful and multiply, that can only be a man and woman. But it didn't say whether it was a black man or a white woman. So, but you can have an argument that you see what I'm saying. Same-sex marriage, that's not fruitful and multiply.
But the idea of marriage, they don't have to have children.
Okay, now you bring up a good point.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
You bring up an
It
excellent
goes
point.
back to the government cannot tell you who to love.
That's
or
right.
Who you should love or
Okay,
shouldn't love.
I'm gonna go right back and say it. The Bible said that you should get married.
Right.
And then he didn't say be fruitful and multiply. Anything about multiplying. First he said be married.
Right.
And then man and woman should be fruitful and multiply. Now it may be that I might look at it and say, hey, well that establishes right there only a person. Before you can get to point B, you gotta be fruitful and multiply. You gotta first be people that can be fruitful and multiply when you get married, a man and a woman. So it could be an argument there, but I don't think it can be an argument based on out of that of saying that you can get something even being correct religiously, that there's anything there that bar different races from marrying. Although I believe that if you believe in something, you fight for it. If you believe strong enough in something, you fight for
You're gonna
it.
have some groups that are gonna bring that, because I see it. Like y'all see these keyboard pirates out there, you know, making their comments anonymously,
Right.
You know, and it's a little alarming to me. Like you said, it might not really gain much momentum, but after seeing Roe versus Wade, after how many years? Over 50-something years.
Because I really didn't
Who
think
would
that.
have ever thought that?
I didn't. I really didn't see that coming.
You know, and
That just blew
like
my
you,
mind.
like you, I do believe in that it should not have been overturned.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Because of medical concern, because I'm pro-life.
Yeah.
However, with the exception of rape, incest, medical emergencies, yes, I'm for that, because you just never know what might happen.
That's
But
right.
just irresponsible, not planning, parenting, no, I'm not for that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I agree. I think that we have to use our discretion, our wisdom, and God didn't. He could have answered these questions for us, but He gave us the wisdom and the knowledge and the intelligence. And He said, "Hey, I'm gonna deal your hand now. You play it." And dealing common sense. And I tell people that people always fall back on law and book sense. Well, that changed, but common sense don't.
That's right.
That's right.
Book sense will become obsolete, but common sense won't.
Right.
So, but I lean towards a woman having a choice. However, in my opinion, I feel like if the father came forward, he should at least be allowed a hearing to
I agree.
to give us whatever he got want to
agree with
present to
that.
the court.
Yeah.
The burden should be on him as to why. Like I was saying, that if I felt like, in my opinion, if a lady would just say that she wanted to hurt this guy real bad, so she get pregnant because she knows that he wants a child, so she intentionally gets pregnant by him just so she could have an abortion and hurt him, because that's going to hurt.
Right.
So there are different circumstances to consider.
Yeah.
So
This was a good conversation.
very
it
good.
has
Justice Thomas and
Justice
Thurgood
Thurgood
Marshall.
Yeah.
history will see that we had 2 black Supreme Court male justices.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And did they leave the door open
Yeah.
for others to follow? I think that both of them did.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I do think that Thurgood Marshall has the charisma
Mm-hmm.
to me
Mhm.
towards the everyday person, the person that's been working so hard and so poor and so tired and so beat as a beacon of hope.
Yeah.
You know,
He was the first black to hold that position.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there was not an example ahead of him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I hope that Clarence Thomas make himself more likable because his legacy is important. These people, when you leave, nobody don't care about you, black, white, nobody care about you unless you leave on behalf of your children and your family, showing
Yeah.
that you did something
Mhm.
good for
Yeah.
everybody
Oh, yeah.
to change the world.
To change the
You know,
world.
not just one side,
Right.
but
Mhm.
you watered
As
the whole
did Thurgood
garden.
Marshall did.
Yeah,
That's
you
right.
watered the whole garden.
Yes.
So I guess we can agree to say that since Justice Thomas is still alive,
Mm-hmm.
that he's got a little bit more work to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
perhaps just a little bit down the road, his legacy will be a good, powerful one that everyone will be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Mm-hmm.
you've been listening to our great show. That's a shame that sometimes I have to even look at Pillow Politics to remind myself of our show. That shows you that I'm not 30 anymore.
Okay.
I ain't gonna say how many years past that I am.
Okay.
Not that far now, not that far.
Mm-hmm.
But all is good.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you have been listening to Pillow Politics. Please subscribe to our station. We really need you to do that to help us get more popularity.
And to get out there.
Yeah.
I'm Attorney Roy Miller. Till next time, saying goodbye.
This is Linda Miller. Goodbye, good friend.